So I want to introduce two guys that I met not that long ago, what, a couple months ago? 2 months ago. Sean Tierney and Bryan, I'm sorry, Kirch. Bryan Kirch. And it was interesting because I was talking with Greg Head, who's the VP of something in the Fusion Soft, I forget the exact title. But Greg is a super sharp guy, really talented. And so we were talking, and he's like, oh, what do you do with that MAG group, and what's that all about? And so I was talking to Greg about it, and he's like, he goes, man, you're really doing some pretty cool stuff. That's some pretty interesting strategy, and blah, blah, because you need to meet this guy. And he literally walked me by the hand over, and said, you need to meet Sean Tierney. This guy is you guys think alike, your brains are pretty well aligned in terms of strategy and business building and stuff. And we just started talking, and it was like I was saying earlier when I talked to Rick Ersey, it was just like all of a sudden I saw something, I knew this guy was really, really sharp. And then that evening, actually, we went out to dinner, and Bryan came along, and same deal. I was like, wow, these are really two guys who have done some amazing things in a very short time. Sean, and I don't know if you were along for that ride too, but you guys have built 3 companies in basically, what, the last 6 years?
Yeah.
It's from 0 to 3 companies in 6 years. They know something about how to take an idea and turn it into money. And actually, I'd say you know a lot about it, given the conversations we've had. So now he's jumped out and he's playing in this Infusionsoft space, and yeah, it's going to be fun because I can see we're going to have probably some friendly competition between us in some ways. But anyway, Sean Tierney and Bryan are here to present their ideas, and take it away, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, for you. Yep.
Is my mic working?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was joking with Bob yesterday. I said, Bob, you know what's cool is $1 million payday, it's $1 billion payday. So hopefully a little social network style, but hopefully we'll race there. So I'm super jacked to talk to you guys. Like I feel kind of like when you've seen a good movie that your friend hasn't seen yet, and you're like, oh, you're gonna get to see this, and you're gonna love it. Like there are some techniques and just a mindset shift that we're gonna share with you guys that I think may change for some of you more than others. Could be really powerful for how you're just viewing the world and validating and bringing products to market. So does anyone get this reference? Who here's seen the movie Back to the Future? Yeah. You got it? So this is a triple entendre right here. It's actually, you'll see a couple slides from now, it relates to an example we're going to use, but it's also, right, Doc, the old guy there who built the time machine, he's this visionary, he saw something that no one else saw, and so it's got like the visionary aspect to it. But it's also, like, the meta here is that these are the things that if I had a time machine to go back to my former entrepreneurial self and tell myself some things, this is what I would be telling myself. This is what I wish I could tell my old entrepreneurial self.
Literally one thing. If you could only share one thing,
yeah,
it would be
what's going to be in this presentation right now. So I know we got kind of what's arguably the worst, like the spot after lunch on the second day when everyone's tired after a bomb's been dropped. So here's
not an
ideal time slot, but I hope that at least some of this, if any of this jogs something for you guys, then we'll be happy with the outcome. So let's get started here. So we had the pleasure yesterday of meeting probably about half of you and talking face to face and getting to know a little bit about your businesses. And we intentionally came out here, we literally drove out from Phoenix 2 days ago with no slides prepared. And we've done a lot of stuff, I've done a lot of talk, so we weren't worried that we could pull some stuff together, but we wanted to calibrate our talk to what you guys know. And we come at this from a different angle than you guys do. We both have products backgrounds, and I know that it seems, the general sentiment is that there's like a lot of marketing, a lot of like Dan Kennedy direct response type backgrounds in this room. We don't come from that background. We bring a different angle. As Bob said, I just got introduced to Infusionsoft. I also just got certified, but that's not the background I come from. I come from a products background, as is Bryan. And so we were listening yesterday, and we tried to distill the themes from yesterday, and we got 3 of them. We heard this one, which we think this will be helpful for. But you guys, there's such amazing content coming out of this group. I mean, I took my Evernote from yesterday. It is overflowing with the ideas that I jotted down. But like you guys, when I go back to the grind on Monday morning, what am I going to implement? Because that's all that matters. Like, this information is useful insofar as you implement it and it helps you, right? It's not about the notes you took here. It's about what you end up doing from it. And so I heard this a couple times yesterday. It's like, God, I love these meetings I come because there's such great content, but I have 1,000 things and I can't do all of them. And so the real key with entrepreneurship is, what do you choose to focus on? How do you pare it down to the 3 things that are truly going to advance your company? I also heard, I want to shift my primary revenue to come from a product so it can scale. I mean, we heard from Chris, right? He's taking the plunge. He's moving from a certainty, which is his burgeoning consulting practice, which he's killing it, and he's choosing to go after a product. And I've heard that from other people, right? Julie, where's Julie? Yeah, with right, the horse, one-to-one, you're trying to move out of the consulting, you're trying to go to a horse, like informational product. Like, this is a recurring theme. Everyone wants to productize, and likewise, I heard from Betsy, I want to extricate myself from the sales process eventually, so I'm not required to close deals. Okay? So these are the 3 themes that we wanted to address, and then we chose to use everything we know, basically, and attack these 3 themes. Alright, so before we go dig into that, I'll just give you the 2-minute spiel on me of why you should even listen to me. These are some of the startups that I've been involved with. I have a psychology degree, but I came out of school and talked my way basically into my first job. I convinced them that I could code, even though I didn't know how, and then I learned how to code. And then I went through the rest of those jobs as a cold fusion developer for 8 years, advancing through various careers. That's what I like to call VC, or before company, or company ownership. AD, which is after diverging from that life, I started owning companies. And the first one was a party bus that's owned by Bryan. We both had party bus businesses. Went on to do some consulting with the Lights Out. Jumpbox is one of the companies that Bob alluded to. We built up what is now the largest footprint in Amazon, Parallels, and VMware's marketplaces. So we own majority shareholder in that. Scratch Audio is a music company we developed. It's essentially the Google Docs of audio. We wrote a browser-based collaboration system that lets anyone come in without any software and record. So Chris could throw down some drums, and Betsy could throw down the vocals, and Julie lays down the guitar. Now we got a song in the browser, no software, all created everyone around the world. So Scratch Audio, Short Salepedia, I recognized an opportunity about a year ago, especially in Arizona, that we were just hit by this massive housing crisis, extremely hard. And the opportunity was to make folks aware, people that were at risk of foreclosure. We want to reach out to them and let them know about the short sale option, because it's not a commonly known thing unless you're in it. And so we took that one and actually made it a full system for education, awareness, and execution for getting short sales done. And we grew that to 220 nationwide realtor, top short sale specialists in the nation. And this summer won LeadsCon New York, Urban Business Breakthrough. And so now Grid7 is the main thing that I do. I'm fascinated by all the marketing automation stuff, and I'm helping other people apply that to their businesses. And so that's the main focus. And then just the other things, I run the Lean Startup Circle for Phoenix, certified in innovation games. I'm also a licensed realtor, a licensed paragliding pilot. I'm a registered emergency medical technician, and I'm a certified consultant. So I do a lot of things. I really don't sleep at all. But I'll let Bryan tell you about his background. No balance at all.
I can relate.
So I have less pictures on my slide here, but the one key distinction between Sean and I is I actually had a successful party bus company. That's a pretty big distinction. So I had, when I was 20, I had the bright idea that I was going to start a party bus limousine service. And not only that, I decided to put the world's only hot tub onto a party bus. So I actually ended up having to build that from scratch, built it up to 8 buses, had the largest fleet of party buses in Arizona, including the world's longest party buses. I started a commercial real estate publication, Commercial Property Magazine, and automated the process that it takes to publish a magazine. Normally it takes somewhere around a month to lay out everything that's necessary to put that publication, especially when you have listings in there. So I actually automated that with software, and it took 1 hour compared to a month to produce that publication. Then I went on a hiatus, mini vacation, or mini retirement, as maybe Tim Ferriss would call it. So I backpacked through Central and South America for about a year. And then since then I've been doing consulting in the startup space.
Cool. All right, so we have some experience. There's probably people in the room who have more, but we do have a product background, and that's what that So here's what I'm going to start talking about first, is this concept, and this is, I think, where Bob and I really gelled around a campfire, I guess, at PartnerCon, smoking a cigar, talking about how, the common tendency is we like to jump, we get so excited about automating and amplifying, but really it is just that, it's amplification, right? So I play the guitar, and I remember when I first got my guitar, all I wanted to do was just plug it into a big, powerful amplifier, but the right thing to do is learn how to play guitar first, because any mistakes or bad habits you make, you're never going to fix those, and you're going to amplify the wrong thing. You're going to sound like crap. So I think with marketing automation, it's like, this is what I play on, the Marshall stack. It's just like the most powerful Marshall stack. But if you don't have the guitar, the fingering, and the song right first, then you're just amplifying something which is suboptimal. So this is, from the world that we come from, this is, does anyone recognize this by any chance, or know what this graph is? This is
Product market fit. Has anybody heard of that phrase?
Okay. Well, good. This is awesome because you guys are going to be exposed to some really interesting things. So this is from a guy named Steve Blank. He wrote a book called 4 Steps to the Epiphany, which now, 10 years later, I think this was the 10th year, he just released the sequel to it called the Startup Owner's Handbook. And this guy's huge. He's in Silicon Valley. He was involved in some major startups out there. But what he did is he sat down and he condensed the process and tried to figure out what was it about these successful companies that he's been a part of, what were the common design patterns that were involved in each of those companies, and he distilled it into these 4 things. And these are, think of them like orbits. Think of it like you go around this one until you get the escape velocity to exit that one and go into the next one. And you don't go to the next one until you have that escape velocity. And so think about these as like orbits that you escape from up to the next one.
So here's why this is important, and it specifically applies to a lot of Infusionsoft users. Infusionsoft is really only going to be valuable in the post area here, post product market fit. After you've gone through the customer discovery, customer validation, then you can amplify. Otherwise, like Sean was saying, you're basically just making noise instead of music, right?
Yeah. Right. And so the key is, if you're still determining whether, if you have something that's still here, how many people here are going to be releasing products in the next year, bringing a product to market? So the majority, right? So the key is, make sure that you nail this before you start doing next. Because our tendency is to do what we know how to do, which is amplify, but let's dial this in first. And we're going to show you systems, and they basically codified this into a science now of how you can determine product market fit and get there and accelerate it. All right, so lean, we're talking about customer development, we're talking about lean startups now. Lean, we'll just go through this. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's about risk mitigation. It's about reducing uncertainty, taking risk off the table early. I see some head nods. It's about accelerating that time period to getting to validated learning, right? Waste reduction. This actually comes from, not from, people assume lean means not spending any money. That's not what it means. It comes from lean manufacturing. That's the idea of waste reduction. How do we do just-in-time decisions? How do we defer choices until we absolutely have to make them? Bob's, the way that he did his website, how do you just condense and spend your time in your power zone and do everything compressed?
So let's take a second and talk about waste a little bit deeper, right?
Yes.
When we talk about waste, what comes up for you guys? What do you imagine in your head that waste might be, that you're trying to eliminate? What type of waste might that be? Time, right? Like resources, right? Time, money, energy, all these things that you're applying towards the wrong thing. You're applying it towards a product that's maybe not successful, right? Instead of applying all that energy you have, the laser focus, towards a thing that you know is going to succeed, right? This is really, really important stuff to really get the distinction about how powerful that is to get rid of all that waste.
Right. And so this one, MVP, has anyone heard the term minimum viable product by any chance? So this is essentially the simplest incantation that achieves product market fit, that does adequately what your market wants, so that you can improve on that later, but you can sell to them. And it's all about rendering just the MVP. I think the CEO of LinkedIn said, if you're not completely embarrassed by your V1 launch, then you've waited too long to launch, right? And this is the concept of the MVP. You launch, it's countered everything we know, we want it to be perfect, but no, get it out there so you can learn from that. earlier. It is an iterative process. They use something called the build, measure, learn loop, which we'll show you. And the unit of progress is validated learning. It's not revenue at this point or pre-product market fit. It's what can we know for certain that we just proved. Everything is phrased in what's called a false viable hypothesis. And so we don't have any wishy-washy statements. We frame things as...
Somebody's batteries went down.
Is that me?
Are you paying attention?
What? Sorry,
Are you awake now? What is awake now?
Sorry, I wasn't watching batteries.
No worries. All right. Yeah, it is. Sure, we'll keep going on. Oh.
Actually, it's both of you guys.
Oh, wow. Twin battery average.
Yeah. Do a quick change up.
All right.
I got it a little bit.
While we're doing this, does anybody have any questions at this point so far? Has anything come up that's clarification?
What was the name of his book again? Steve Blank, the author.
Startup Founders Manual.
What was his name?
Steve Blank.
What was the first one? 4 steps to what?
The 4 steps to the epiphany. It's riddled with typos, but it's really good ideas.
That's how you said that you got to do it.
It is. He's now doing the Udacity course. And that's awesome. That's a free resource. You don't even have to buy the book. You can just take my book.
What's the name of the course?
It's on Udacity. If you Google Steve Blank Udacity, you'll find it. All right, we good? Or we good? Yep. Okay. All right, so thinking of what we left out. Everything's framed as a falsifiable hypothesis, and we test it. We know if we either confirm or disprove hypotheses as we go through. All right, so of the people that are planning to launch products, how many have launched a product and felt like this? You build something only to realize that nobody cares about it.
Hands up.
No, like, I mean, myself included, like, seriously.
George, real quick.
It is the word.
When we were sitting around the other day, you were talking about your friend, I believe, that built an entire product. Can you talk about that real quick? I'd like people to hear that story in a little bit of detail, if that's okay.
I was explaining to him the John story. Do we want to really?
Is that okay to bring up?
You just have to
Just use it, you don't have to use
Are you talking about X-member?
Yeah.
Just
Leave the name out.
Without names.
Leave the name out.
I mean, there was a phone number. And basically, he spent, oodles of money building some really high-end training videos on leadership, management, how to carry out your career. Produced them, put it up on the site, and then started thinking about how to sell it.
how much time do you think he spent producing that?
Short year and a half.
He spent much less
Money.
time.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you think?
Oh, months and months, and
Yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars.
And we all
How did that affect him emotionally?
Well, it was just frustrated. So, I kind of jumped in at the tail end and helped him out a little bit. And I was like, you built all this? I was hoping he'd say he sold a bunch of them, but that
Yeah.
wasn't the case.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any stories they'd like to share about things that failed? Yeah.
A good friend of mine spent a year and a half and about 200 grand building a membership site for polo players to learn everything they could ever want to learn, and only to find that she forgot that polo players are cheap, have no money, and wouldn't buy it, and was salvaging it, but learn in your marketplace, so she since has sort of saved it, but literally no ROI at all what she thought. She started at $365 a month membership, took it all the way down to 19, couldn't get anybody.
Wow.
And has since has taken it and sold it to the USPCA. So salvaging, but
We're talking about those resources for a bit, right? Those resources of that year of her life, right? That $200,000. What could have the cost of good for gone, right? Economics, like what are you giving up by working on something else? Every time you make a choice to work on something, you're choosing not to do something else, right? And that's a really powerful thing to figure out. Like, what are the things I should be working on, right? So we're gonna walk through specifically how you guys can determine those things in a systematic way.
Yeah, exactly. And so we frame the question, what if this could be reliably prevented? What if there was a system for stopping this from happening? And I want to share with you this story because I think maybe you won't remember anything I said or Bryan and I said from this talk, but I think this story is something that may stick, and it may anchor it such that you'll be able to bring it back at a useful time later. And so, does anyone by chance recognize the campus? This is a college campus. This would be really miraculous if anyone did. Okay, this is Cal Poly. This is here in California. It's in San Luis Obispo. And this is an aerial photo when they had just done some new architecture, new buildings on campus, and they were trying to figure out where to put the sidewalks. Has anyone heard this story? Okay, good. They were trying to figure out where to put the sidewalks, and they had this massive debate. And it was the designers, the landscape architects, and the building folks, and the school, and nobody could agree on where the sidewalks belong. They were all saying, no, they should be this way, no, they should be straight, no, they should be curvy and bendy, and no one could figure it out. So do you know what they did?
Well, what would you guys do?
How would you solve this problem?
Take a herd of animals out one walk.
Say it again.
Yeah, what the paths are where the walk through. What is right?
Yeah. So what they did is they planted grass, and they just let people walk around for a year, and then they took this photo, and we'll zoom in.
Yeah, you can see.
You can see the tread-worn ground, right? That's where they put the sidewalks. Right? So that's like when you think of lean, think of the data informing your decisions. Think of, let's not put sidewalks where we don't know where they should be yet. Let's plant grass. Right?
Humans are
Notorious, right? Like, so this next slide we did, what are some famous bad assumptions? It took us like 2 seconds to come up with these, right? The world is flat and we are the center of the universe.
So human beings have a fatal flaw about making these assumptions all the time with really poor sets of information, right? And those assumptions can be really damaging to the outcome of, let's say, some contrarian scientists.
Right. So what we wanted to do, if you guys are game for it, like take some paper out and just write down try to think of 3 things that you haven't challenged yet in your business. And it should be, assumptions that you have right now, but maybe you're assuming that it's not possible to do a product around what you have, or what are some other ones?
And just 3 specific assumptions that you have about your business that you have not tested yet, right? What do you assume about your business that you do not have scientific, verifiable evidence that this is accurate? These are your gut instincts, they're theories, they're things that you've talked to your friends and family about, right? But this has never been backed up with data, right? To make that distinction.
So these are things that we actually assume we can't do?
No, just assumptions about your business.
It's tough because you don't know what you don't know, right? That's why they're assumptions. But try to think from it.
Yeah. What do you assume, but you have never tested and validated?
Give me, I want an example of a higher price point. You assume you can't charge that much, but have you tested
don't
it?
know.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect. We'll give you
That's
30
good because
seconds.
that works on our next slide too. So.
Okay, so while you guys are finishing that up, I'm going to give you the example from the music company that I did. I basically parachuted into a company that had started without me. A really smart guy developed this product, the Google of audio.
How many years, by the way, did he work on?
He was working on it for about 1.5 years or 2 years at that point. But he was a tech guy, and he built this thing, no idea how he was going to monetize it, just kind of in love, and stop me if you've heard this story, like in love with your idea and just chasing it kind of like a mirage, right? So he built this thing, and then I parachuted in and I said, well, we don't know. This was not done lean from the beginning, so what can we do at this point to validate and to figure out how we're going to charge for this? And so part of this experiment was getting people, so the product already existed, the version 1 worked. They use it, they sign up, they're ready to create an account. We threw up an extra page, basically, that had some fictitious plans. These didn't even exist.
None of these features existed. The software couldn't do half the things that it says it can do on here, right?
Yep. So we put this pricing matrix up here, and we played with the variables of caps on the number of collaborators, the storage space, features that we hadn't built yet. And we literally just systematically A/B tested this and played with pricing and over time, very different elements, but in a controlled manner. And then we just looked at the data, and so this is what we got. So we used an an analytics tool called Metrics. This is the data from that tool, and it shows you the breakdown of plans. You can see that 422 signed up for the free, 13, 15, and 13, and I'll go back so you can again see what those plans were. So these are the plans. 0, 5, 29 a month. So this was a series of experiments. This wasn't just a one-time thing. We obviously iterated through that, right? It's an iteration. It's a process, not a one-time thing. But this helped inform what we would then go out and build. If we had sat down and just started building the features that we thought belonged on that matrix, we would have missed it, just miserably. So the other thing that we did, and I'll show you the next slide. It'll make sense once you see this. We were able to slice and dice this data based on how they came in. And this is really powerful. Think about this in your businesses. If you're able to test, like Bob was saying, the offer, the audience, the timing, those are all just like trial balloon AdWords that you're floating out there and testing various ad groups and ad campaigns. And then watch how their behavior is on your site. And slice and dice based on the variables of the timing, what time of day, what day of the week, what was the offer in the ad, what was the market segment that you were addressing, what was the channel you were using to get them. And you vary those elements and then you watch, just see how they compare side by side, all the way through to conversion. And so this is just some of the analytics, or the AdWords data that I pulled that shows some of that. I mean, I could, if you guys wanted to, we could go through it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, does everyone get the methodology that we're using there? Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah.
This may be getting ahead of it. What did you do with those people?
The people that signed up for something that didn't exist?
Yeah.
Yep. So it was easy in that situation, right? Because at that point, they were already using a tool. Those features didn't exist. They chose a plan that they were intending to pay money for. I mean, okay, I'll choose the $49 or whatever. Hey, you know what? It's free. We're just gathering data right now to figure out what you guys actually want, because we want to build the optimal tool for you. Thanks so much for your suggestion. Would you like us to notify you when this feature is built? That's all it
And
is.
you could have done that without a product.
We could have done that without a product. Exactly. And I would have. It's like I parachuted into that.
You already had it.
Yeah, it was already in place. So, yeah, exactly. Any other questions? Okay, I'll let Bryan.
So this type of methodology can work on all types of businesses, all types of products, all types of services. You can apply this. If you can apply it to building sidewalks, you can apply it to anything, right? So I'm just going to give one example of how I applied this. So I had this concept where when I was backpacking through Central and South America, somehow I got this idea that I wanted to do a children's oral care product, okay? So what I did is I wanted to have a NASCAR-themed dental hygiene kit for children to get them excited about brushing their teeth, right? So what most people do when they come up with an invention is that what are they going to do? They're going to file a patent on it, which is going to be, $6,000 to $20,000, right? They're going to go and build prototypes of all these things. So what I did is I actually outsourced on Elance to have 3D renderings and a website built for 5 products for 5 different brands: Crest, Colgate, Aquafresh, gum, all of these permutations of the different brands. A website that would present that information uniquely to each brand, right? I was also able to track who specifically logged into that site, right? All for $1,000, right? Without having to go and spend all this time and energy. Within weeks, I could go and display a product as if it already existed. As if I already had these built, as if I already had done these, right? And so you think about it, you got a Fortune 500 company, I have no connections, I have no contacts. How am I going to get Crest or Colgate or Aquafresh or any of these companies to have contact with me, right? So I did some guerrilla marketing, and we can get into that at some other points. Actually, a really, really interesting case study on how I was able to get through every gatekeeper, get to the C-level executives, have them log into my website over 4 times a piece, and actually call me and ask for a meeting, right? Having no contacts at all at any of these companies, I had these C-level executives literally calling me on the phone.
No
right?
contacts and no products.
Nothing existed.
I think it's important.
Right? This is just an idea in my head that I made them feel as if it was as real in my head as it was in reality, right?
Do people want to know how he got to the C-level execs? Or is that-
Yeah.
Maybe you can, sorry to put you
All
on the
right,
spot.
so I really have a fetish for direct mail. Like this is like one of my passions is how can you, and this goes into, if anybody ever wants to have a discussion about usability and user experience, all of this applies as well, right? All types of marketing. You want to get in the mindset, the context of who you are going to be marketing to, right? So I had some basic information that I knew about these people, right? I was able to find out their address for sure, right? I was able to find out their title, all that information, jigsaw.com, you can get a lot of this stuff, right? Email I know is going to go to spam, so why would I send an email, right? So I definitely knew I wanted to do a direct mail campaign. So what I did is I got a napkin, and on the napkin I wrote 3 things. I wrote, I guess 4 things. I wrote to-do list. 1, pick up dry cleaning. Pick up dry cleaning. On a napkin, written in pen, right? By the way, I outsourced all of the writing on the napkins on Craigslist to have someone do all this for me, right? So, first one, pick up dry cleaning. 2, research new product ideas, right? With a couple bullet points, right? Cars the movie, NASCAR, right? I'm creating context and framework for these people to view my future ideas through, right? Then the next thing, visit readysetbrush.com, right? Then it had a little yellow post-it note on it, and it said, hey George, looked important, you left this behind last week, right? On top of that, I had a key, a car key, right? All of this is context, right? Car key, and with that car key, there was a little keychain that had a number. That number was unique for every individual at that company, right? So what happens? The hell is this thing? So first of all, it also comes in a brown envelope, right? So all this, when they get it, it stands out in the mail, right? Something unique, something they've never seen before, right? So all of a sudden, the gatekeeper gets this, right? The secretary. What the heck is this? I don't know, but it looks really important, right? This is going to my boss. It's like in handwriting. In the females, I had a female write the handwriting. For the males, I had a male write the handwriting, right? All the little details, they're going to help you get past that gatekeeper, right? So the secretary hands this off to their boss and says, I don't know, this came for you, this looked important, right? So what do? They're curious as hell. What is this thing? What's this key? What's this napkin? I don't know what's going on. Log into the website. When they go to the website, they're greeted with, select the brand that you're from, so they select the brand, and then they entered in their unique ID. After they entered that in, I knew exactly when they logged in, exactly who logged in, right?
And the frequency.
And the frequency at which they logged in, right? So I got to see that this woman that works for Colgate, she's on Forbes' list of like, you know, most powerful women. She's like number 7 or something like that, and she logged in 4 times to the site, right? So that tells you that there's interest. It tells you that there's, you know, some buying interest on the side of the company potentially, right? So,
cool. All right, so we'll keep going. If you guys want to talk more about that, obviously, check with Bryan. So what we would like to do ideally right now is take someone who wants to volunteer, maybe has some assumptions, and we'll just try to put it through our process and see if we can just do this live. I know it's kind of a crapshoot, but does anyone want first hand up? Let's do it.
Well, what do you want to know?
all right. So, well, I guess talk about your business a little bit, and then talk about some assumptions that you have that you'd like to test, and we can talk about how to test it.
Hey, wait a second, I got a question just rolling through my mind.
Sure.
So did you guys create Grid7 this morning?
No, that's not business.
This is his legitimate
But he
business.
doesn't have any products yet.
Yeah. Are we
We do. We do. This is the first. Let's see. We'll see.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go.
My company is called Superlawn Technologies. We sell business-to-business products to the landscaping industry. And we have 2 very diverse product lines. Product line number 1, which has been operating since 1998, is we manufacture customized landscaping trucks. These trucks are price points from $40,000 to about $80,000. So it's a significant capital investment for the business owners. And then, since I've been in that space for about 25 years, I also have a coaching and training business where I teach business skills to landscaping business owners. And a couple of assumptions that I've made. Number 1, I've made an assumption that we must have a salesperson in order to sell this product, that is the trucks online.
Okay.
I'd like to test that. I'd like to be able to fix it where people can order That is select their options, the customization, and then just placing an order online.
Okay.
Second thing I would love to test is in the membership coaching program that I have, which is a relatively new product. I have tested 2 price points to date: an initial initiation of $9.97 and an initial initiation of $4.97 with a $97 a monthly membership fee. And that's like the lowest priced products I've ever sold in my life. It makes me really nervous. Like all my other products have been $2,500 or larger. And so I don't have any idea what the optimized price point is right now.
Okay. How are you getting the traffic for that particular product?
My website, superlawntrucks.com, has been online since 1998. We dominate the space for landscape trucks and lawn trucks, #1 in Google, have been for a long, long time. So SEO has been the primary traffic source. And then I've written a number of books, including a...
So the coaching side, that's the second one you want to test, right? Is the coach. How are you getting that traffic?
Most of the guys that contact us about trucks really can't afford them.
Okay.
And so we find that out, and then we offer them books and coaching.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any ideas on how you might be able to implement either one of these and test some of these theories? Any of you guys, from some of the stuff we've been talking about, how you can go about this?
Well, to me, the easy one is just throw the trucks online. You know, throw up your order form, throw up the customization, and see if anybody just orders.
Reward people who do order online.
Anybody else have any ideas? So are there any downsides to ordering online? Like, are there any technical feasibility issues with purchasing these trucks through a shopping cart or anything along those lines? $60,000, financing, like how does all of that work?
Yeah, there's anytime you have a capital purchase, there's some customization that is required in terms of matching the correct gross vehicle weight rating of the truck, correct wheelbase of the truck with the customized options such as body size, dump systems, or tool storage systems that can go on there. There's some.
So you see what most people would do right here, right? I'm not saying that you're doing this, but what most people do is they start thinking about the technical feasibility of whether this would even be possible, right? But if there's enough demand, you'll find a way to solve that problem, right? So one of the easy things that you can do, and Sean, you can kind of use the example that you did
Which one?
with just pricing matrix, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you can literally track whether someone clicks and tries to purchase these products, right? Like, you don't have to build out an entire infrastructure to figure out if you can go ahead and sell these trucks. You can do things very easily, very cheaply, and just see if the interaction takes place. Because what you care about is that interaction. Does someone attempt to make that purchase?
So how I would approach this would actually be deconstruct where does the uncertainty lie specifically around what you think people's hang-ups will be, and frame it where what do we need to learn, back away into what experiment or what data would we need to collect, and what experiment would we need to execute to collect that data. So you start with, like, take this risk off the table. Where does the risk lie within this? And maybe you have a hunch of why people might be afraid to buy online, and then attack that one, like, atomic aspect. Does that make sense? Or,
I don't know how to do that.
okay, so an example, this is what we call customer development, and so this involves actually talking to people that are prospective buyers of this to unearth some of this data. But an example might be going to someone who bought from you in the past, or going somewhere where a potential customer might be physically, face to face. How do I get in front of this person? An auto show or a trade organization or something, and present it as if it's real. You say, hey, we got these on our website right now. Would you purchase? No, I would never do that. Well, why? What is it about it? Yeah, I need to see it. I need to kick the tires, literally. Right? Now you know, okay, so how can I address that? Or is that even addressable? Is that a showstopper at this point, or is that addressable in another way? But you're getting to the root of what the issue is there, right? And so you can start to deconstruct the uncertainty, if that makes sense.
I just got one thing I wanted to ask. If you're looking, you want people to basically plan and buy their lawn truck online and put it together. I'm just like guessing like the, whatever the auto car industry trade group is. I'm sure there's more than one, but I mean, are people buying BMWs online? I mean, those are $80,000 cars and they're piecing them together. My Mac, it's not a huge investment, but for some people, you know, if you buy 4 or 5 Macs for your office, that could be, you know, 15 grand. People plan that stuff online. So there's got to be some type of data somewhere that's showing the rise of custom purchases online for individuals and for companies.
Yeah.
It's in addition to going out and asking, because you ask people, will they buy this? A lot of people will just say no, like they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly, and that's why we conduct the experiments in the way that we do, because you introduce all kinds of things, experiment or bias. You know, people wanting to coddle and tell you what you want to hear. So you can't do it as a survey. That just doesn't. I mean, that's a data point, but you can't rely upon that as the same type of data.
This may be, sounds a little brutal, but we just went on the site. The first place that I personally went was purchasing, and you had a little link that says configure your truck, and it broke. It said 404 error. So I naturally went there the second click. I might have gone there the first click, because that's what they want to do, is build my truck and see how much it's going to cost. And at that point, I don't know if there's a collection to know
This is
who
kind of more
I
like a usability, like, you know,
there's a technical issue.
But there's data issues.
No, but that's the first place you went, which is interesting, right?
And there's data there that, did he know who I was? If that worked, is there a collection part?
The collection point doesn't happen until step 8, till the truck is finished, built out. And before we get any pricing information, we collect the data. At that point in time, why it broke that time, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I clicked on the banner, and the truck building part works, so I'm building my truck.
Oh, are you? Okay, well.
Yeah, but you've got someone on
But
the site.
what you did, Rick, though, was exactly what most traffic does on our site. They go there first.
Yeah.
When you look at the web traffic, you know.
There should be a lot of data that we're collecting
Yeah, but
from
you
there.
don't get their ID. You don't know who they are.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
we have a lot of people fall off at that, later steps, and they don't ever make it to the end.
By a lot, you mean 50%?
Well, we can get into all the details later.
Okay.
I want to encourage you, Tony, because, and Bob, you're in the corner there. Remember last year, end of last year, I was doing business valuations, and I thought nobody in their right mind is going to order a business valuation without talking to somebody. And Bob said, just try it. And then he said, try packaging together like 3 of them or 2 of them. I said, Bob, you gotta be kidding. Nobody's going to do that. And they did. I made like 60 grand on that little campaign of stuff that I didn't even think that people would do. So I love this idea of challenging the assumption. I think they will do it on the internet.
Yes.
Well, you have eBay Motors, right? That's a precedent for this type of thing. In some regard, at least. I don't know what you can deduce from that, but I mean, it's not like a harebrained idea. There's some precedent.
So I want to touch real quick on the emotional side of things, right? So emotions are going to get in the way of you being able to validate these hypotheses, right? In a couple different ways, right? What happens when you're really in love with anything? When you're really passionate about anything, right? All logic goes out the window, right? What happens when you're really afraid of something? You're terrified of something, right? And most people are terrified to test because they're afraid what they're going to find out. Most people are afraid to test because they're afraid what they're going to find out, right? How many people are stopping themselves from validating a theory purely because they're terrified they might not like the answer they get, right?
Yeah, and I've done it. I've chased Mirage, and you get married to you cherish the concept of this idea, and you never test it because you're worried that you might be wrong. And I know people right now that I want to just break through to them and just say, no, go do something else. You're so talented. Why are you still chasing that idea? And
this bottlenecks are different stages depending on where you're at with your company, right? If you haven't started your product yet, right? How good does it feel to tell people you're working on a business? You're working on something, right? It never maybe really turns into anything, but you've always got that conversation piece, right? It never gets to that point where it's just uncomfortable, right? It always feels just kind of nice and cozy, right? And what you have to do is push yourself out of these comfort zones. And you guys are the type of people, obviously, that do that on a regular basis, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But it's the most important thing you need to do is always challenge your assumptions in every step of the process, right?
Cool. Now let's keep going. All right, so I put this slide up here just because this is how I always like to try and weave everything back together so you have good context for everything. Customer development, this idea of unearthing and going and figuring out how do we put ourselves in a place where people who buy lawn trucks are going to be, that we could, and give them something. We can't just go and say, hey, would you buy this? You got to go, or say, hey, what do you want? Right? If anyone ever said, if Steve Jobs had said, hey, what do you want for a phone? Do you think we would even have anything remotely like the iPhone? No. You got to go lead with a strong vision and say, this is what we're selling. Would you purchase it? No. Why not? What about this? Oh, let's talk about that thing that you have. What Bob was saying yesterday. How do you figure out what aftershave these guys wear, or what cigar aficionado magazines are they reading? Right? You got to just rock your customers. You got to understand everything about them so that it's they're paying better than they do. Right? So that's customer development. I think we like the survival skill. It's just ingrained in some people who start doing it. And you'll get it. It's teachable and it's learnable. Lean is basically like a compass. It's like once we get this data and we learn, how do we make sure we're always oriented to true north? How do we validate and peel away the stuff that just doesn't matter? It's all about focusing on the things that do matter and paring everything down to just that. And then something that we haven't talked about yet, and we'll just briefly show it. We probably won't. How are we doing on time, by the way?
You're fine.
We're good? Okay. Won't go too deep into it, but the business model canvas, this is, I'll show you 3 book recommendations at the end of this. This is one of them that I really would recommend. This is the business model canvas. It's by a guy named Alex Osterwalder, and it's since become kind of this artifact that people are using now in place of business plans. When they do a business, anyone who's written a long business plan does, you never look at it again. You go and run the business, and the day after you write it, it's already changed. You're already learned something new, right? So it's worthless. This is a one-pager. It summarizes all the key aspects of your business, and you can think of it like a balance sheet of understanding of your business at any given time. It's a snapshot at a point in time about the key partners, key activities, key resources, value proposition, customer relationships, the channels to reach them, and customer segments. And then at the bottom, you get the cost structure and the revenue structure. And so you're able to represent, it's like the artifact that summarizes all that in one place, and you evolve it over time.
So what's important to understand about this, we're trying to just stay real high level and not get into all the nitty gritty of all this stuff, right? But it's important to take away that this is a system, it's a formula, it's a process. It's more of a science than it is an art, right? This is a formulaic way in which to approach a problem and solve it, right? And I apologize, we weren't able to really dig in deep with you, but to sit down and really walk through everything, we can maybe do that later. But this is a very systematic way to go through things, right?
Yeah.
What time?
What's that?
What time are we going to do that?
He's ready.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Bottle of beer, Tony.
I'd be more than happy.
And this can be overwhelming, you guys. The business model, I know we've all got so much going on. So if you do read this book, focus at least in the early stages on just these 2, the ones that are highlighted in red. It's the value proposition and the customer segments. And that is product market fit. How those things mesh together, it's actually solution, yeah. So here, I'll show you the tools that we use. Value proposition canvas basically takes those 2 boxes and then decomposes them further. So you can actually get out and using what are the customer jobs that people would hire this thing for, what are the pains they're currently experiencing, the gains they would like to experience, and then you match it with your solution. And then this helps you craft everything about the messaging, it helps you know what features don't matter, and you use this system basically to focus on those 2 boxes first, and then you work out from there and you start to fill in other boxes. How are we going to reach those customer segments? What channels are we going to use? So highly recommend that book.
So this is still super high level about how this process works, right? But this will kind of walk you through somewhat how this works. So
yeah.
We have kind of a filtering system. Before we even get to the research part, we actually pre-filter our ideas to figure out if they're even worth testing, right? And we can get into that if anybody wants to talk about that. but that's another way to eliminate waste, right? How do I even know if do these meet certain core requirements for me? Am I going to make X amount of dollars a month off this? How long is it going to take for me to test this idea? Really quantifiable, specific filters. And the reason we use that term filters, it's like distillation, right? You start with something, right, that's maybe not very pure, and as you keep moving it through each filter, by the time it gets out to the end, it's more of a pure product, right? So we want to start with a relatively pure product before we even start doing customer development. Does that make sense?
Right, so if it's kicked out at any point on the way, it doesn't even make it to the next step, which is research the market. And so in this case, we would go and we would learn everything we could about the lawn truck market. I know nothing about that market, but it'd be interesting to go and start doing some research, doing some, things like Google Trends, Google Insights. There's tools out there freely available that lets you get kind of these high-level pictures of just, is there an addressable market here that we can even reach, right? From there, we go into what we call customer acquisition testing, where we're testing via AdWords. And think of AdWords, don't think of them like, oh, I'm doing my advertising to get people to my site. These are just trial balloons, right? We're just testing, just flipping concepts. And we can have the wackiest, how someone can come across a lawn truck. I can't even think off the top of my head how that might happen weirdly to give you an example. But the point is, test broad first. Don't optimize yet. Go broad. Yeah.
How do you know when to stop testing?
Okay, so
what do you mean? Can you clarify what you mean by that? Because that's kind of a...
In this situation, I would say until you achieve product market fit, then the question that follows that is how do you know when you have product market fit, right?
Yeah, well, when you're specifically with your bullet point about keyword analysis, when do you know to stop this keyword, go to that keyword? I'm not looking for absolute answers.
My answer to that is when it's working. And by working, I mean, when is it profitable?
And that's a relative, right? Everybody's going to have different goals. I think there was someone in here the other day who said their hourly rate is $1,000 an hour, right? So for them, that ROI has to be very, very high, right? Someone else, if they're making an extra $1,000 a month, that's a success. It's very relative to the specific individual, the specific product. Does that help address that? Okay.
Yeah, and there's rules of thumb. So all this stuff in terms of what truly constitutes product market fit, is there a particular number, percentage of purchases to non-purchases? No. It's when do you strike a nerve? And then people say it's kind of like, like being in love, or you'll know it when you're in it. If you're asking a question you don't have it, is basically the answer there. Yeah.
Just a question about this process here. This is a common process for doing market research that many people convey. I mean, there's elements to it, I'm sure here that are unique. But it assumes, I wonder how this is different in the light of what Google has been doing lately, where they care so much about the quality score. So you've got this brand new site, and you want to run some cheap traffic to it, hopefully it's cheap, to be able to find out whether or not there's anything to this. Google wants you to be a well-established site with tons of content on it before they'll practically let you run any ads, or at least any cheap ones.
That's not necessarily true.
Okay, so I'm hoping that's true, so please correct me.
So
That's my assumption that you need to correct.
I'm going to throw a curveball, and something that would seem completely counterintuitive, but roll with me. If we're truly focused on learning one particular aspect at this point, in other words, we don't care that we're burning the money. We're okay with the fact that we're going to run some ads and we're going to waste some money on ads that we're not going to ever see anything out of, but we're going to learn. Point it at a competitor, right? Go into a market where you don't exist yet, point it at a competitor and test the channels, test the message, test the offer, test these things, and figure it out, and you've wasted no time setting up a site. Google will approve you because it points to an established existing site that's credible, reputable. Just search for the top thing in that market and point the ad at that. Right?
But I mean, I know for a fact, Sean and I run these campaigns all the time for brand new sites and get traffic from it for a PPC. There's also, I know for a fact, and this is going to sound completely insane, I know for a fact that within 3 days, for long-tail keywords, I can be on the first page of Google. Brand new site, right out of the box, brand new domain name. Within 3 days, for a long-tail keyword, I'm on the first page, for sure.
But a long-tail keyword, by definition, doesn't get much traffic.
I mean, it depends how much traffic that it happens to be getting. It's relative, it's about testing. This is about validating to see if there's product market fit. So you don't need to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people necessarily, right? There's various ways to go ahead and drive that traffic to your site. I know for a fact, I have friends that do this, and within 3 days are literally making affiliate sales from being on the first page for a long tail keyword. You know?
Yeah, and long tail, again, is relative. You'd be surprised. I mean, I'm just picking this out of thin air, but Xbox refurbished Hello Kitty style Xbox or something like that. I mean, there's a market out there. Believe it or not, I'm sure that those are selling. I bet if we looked it up right now, the question is how much, right? And is it profitable? And then what you do is you start to zero in on the search volume and what you can realistically get from click-through and conversion and all that.
And what happens when you add up a bunch of long tail keywords, right? Like what happens, what's that cumulative value of doing all those individual things? Testing all these niche keywords and seeing how that messaging affects the user, affects the sale of the item, all of those things, you know, to me have value.
Okay. We'll just skip the rest of that. The build, measure, learn loop, I don't know if we want to go through this or if we want to, how are you guys feeling about this? You want to keep talking about this or? Yeah? Okay. So this is the build, measure, learn loop. This is what they use. We actually feel it's the learn, build, measure.
Yeah, so most people start with the build, measure, learn is the traditional sense of this. But we really think it's starting with the learning. Because what most people do is they start with an idea. And we believe that the idea should be formulated based on what you've learned about the marketplace. So you don't start building anything at all. Anything, whether it be a landing page, PPC campaign, anything, until you've learned something about the market, so you know then how to conduct a valid hypothesis, right? You need to conduct a valid experiment. You need to know information about it, right? Otherwise, you're just coming with ideas all over the place and you know, being pulled in so many different directions. So we strongly believe that it's about learning first before you start building anything.
Yeah. You basically, what you do is think of what you want to learn, and you like, what's the reverse, what's the name of it? The military uses the reverse.
Oh yeah, just like backwards planning for the military.
Backwards.
So if you're gonna go invade Iraq, you start with we're in Iraq, we're in a particular city, right? In order to get in that city, we need to get our tanks, up to the city walls. In order to get the tanks there, we need to have fuel lines. In order to have the fuel lines, and you work yourself backwards from the end goal. You start with the end goal, and then it dictates what you should start with. Does that make sense? And you can use the example of Amazon using this in a different context.
Yeah, Amazon's product development, guys, there's an awesome thread on Quora. If you look up, does anyone use the site Quora? West Manager community? No, there's just a really good insight as to how they conduct their product development. They use this exact same method of backing into the result. So what they'll actually do is write the press release that they want to run 6 months from now when they're going to launch this product that they just came up with. They're fantasizing at this point. Wouldn't it be cool if they'll write the press release and then they'll step their way backwards to see what must exist at each point in order for that product to be a reality. It's the same thing. So, yeah, let's just go to Q&A at this point. What questions do you guys have?
Just going back to what you just said with the press release.
Yeah.
So you put it together of what you're looking for in like a year or 6 months. Then you're basically taking each aspect of that product and saying, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get there? How am I going to get there?
Okay, so let's just take your example like yesterday, right? We're talking about were you the one with the float and the travel?
Yeah, we're
okay.
going to put people on a float in Thanksgiving Day parade as a tour.
Okay, and what was your name again? I'm sorry. Eric. Okay, so Eric, we're talking at the roundtable thing, and he has this idea for a product where just
actually it was Gus's idea.
What's that?
Okay, it was Gus's idea. I'm stealing it.
Okay. Well, Gus had this great idea for a product that Eric is going to rip off, and it's going to be this all about creating this unique experience of sending people to New York, getting them on a Macy's float, and getting them on TV so all their friends see them, and now their friends want to get that same trip, and it's like, it sounds incredible. So let's back our way. Write the press release that you want to run. I don't know how soon you think you could launch that. 6 months?
I mean, it would have to be, it has to be way before Thanksgiving, so. But let's just say 6 months right now.
Yeah, so you got a year, it's not super rushed. So let's say 6 months from now, he's intending to launch this product. So he writes the press release now, that he hopes to run 6 months from now, and then that informs everything else that he's thinking about, right? It forces him, like if you guys have ever done this exercise, it's awesome. You project yourself forward and then you cast back from there, and it's a whole different way of looking at what needs to happen. And it's like a subtle mental shift, but it's different than saying, what do I need to do today? Versus cast myself 6 months forward, look backwards, what must have occurred to make that happen. It sounds weird, but trust me, it works. So write that press release, write the headline, write the first paragraph, and start to, and tell me, I guarantee you that you're gonna have some insights that you would not have had in writing that press release that inform what you must do to get there, and then you just start backing your way out of those things. What do my metrics need to look like? What do the price points, how am I reaching those segments, all that stuff.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so I want to do an exercise before we wrap up here. This is what I call the butterfly effect exercise. And what I want you guys to do is think about how you're currently planning. Everyone who is releasing a product, raise your hand again and see who that's going to be. Okay, so I want you to, those people, go down the path of how you're planning to do it or how you were planning to do it before any of these ideas. And just think about what that looks like a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. How are you approaching things under that method?
If you're to do it the old way.
The old way. Right? And I don't know if this reference is lost on anyone. This is a movie that explores different pathing, like one small change, like a butterfly flaps its wings and a tidal wave in Tahiti or whatever that is. So it's like exploring the idea of one small change today, and then back up today, and then go down the path of if you were to validate that, and either prove or disprove. Maybe we find it just doesn't work, but that frees you up to do something else. And think about what that looks like a month, 3 months. All that uncertainty being swept off the table and being very confident about, we know that this is going to work.
Like, you don't think you know all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Right?
And the day you go to launch, you know what you have? You figured out the ads necessary to reach the potential customers. So you know the messaging, you know your conversion rates, you know that you've got this list of people who come in intending to buy, but then they realize they couldn't buy. But oh, now at least you got their email address, so you've got an excited prospect. On the day that you go to launch, you've got X number of people that have already said, I want this. Right? So how do you feel in that situation going to launch that product? How confident are you in that point?
So is there anything about this that you guys find overwhelming or challenging, or any specific things you feel like, this is too much, I can never do this, I'm just going to go back to the old way, versus, and some of you may have been exposed to some of these ideas before, right? But assuming that this is a novel idea to you, right? What are the things that might hold you back from actually implementing this? Does anybody find themselves pulling back and not wanting to test this stuff and not wanting to follow through with that? Or is everybody kind of gung-ho, oh yeah, we're going to start testing all the time now? In between.
Well, it can be overwhelming. I mean, it's,
What about it is overwhelming?
I think, first of all, the discipline to sit down, visualize, make the long list, prioritize, and delegate. Because I think creatures of habit have a hard time to change. We also like to play to our strengths. We also like to be busy. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any things that might hold them back?
Well, actually, I want to ask Bob. So yesterday, when you were talking, you made a conscious decision. You knew you could get that site done using an already existing resource, but you made a conscious decision to force yourself to use an outsourced thing. What was it that made you want to do that?
Well, I want to show it as a lesson for the group here that you can start from zero and still get there very rapidly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wonder what is the team sizes you guys work with on an average basis.
So these are all startups, you mean companies that have been involved in?
Yeah, I mean, when you're applying these, how many folks do you have? And what's your size?
What do you mean?
What you mean sample size of the groups that are testing or team of the
team,
company?
yeah.
So Jumpbox was 7, Scratch Audio was only ever 2, Short Sale Video with 250 realtors nationwide. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Sean, to add on to that too, I also wanted to expand the pool of people I have on my team who can do whatever I want very rapidly.
Let me, because it's an idea that I wanted to piggyback off of what Bob said. I love what he did. he's not only solving it, but he's building a stable of people that he can now call upon, so there's some efficiency for the future. But here, let me just propose one like little riff onto that. What if instead, he had that bad experience, he hired the first contractor, flaked out, 9 a.m. the next morning, fired, and on to the next one, and lucked out and got a good one that second time, right? What if instead of hiring sequentially like that, what if you parallelize it? You hire 5 people, commit to only 1 hour on each, and test them. Parallelize that. Test them apples to apples, give them the exact same project, clone it on EC2, give them access to the instances, they're all starting from scratch, go. And watch what they can do in an hour, and then from that, the next day, you'll have an apples to apples comparison of effectiveness, and now you're starting to get efficient at how you build your team. Even though you're knowingly paying 5 people for an hour that's in theory waste because you've duplicated it, but in the long run, you've just now recruited like a way better team, way faster. Yeah.
When you were just saying like, you just had the mic, go first.
I was just going to say, your team was nobody, wasn't it, with the toothbrush thing?
Oh, yeah, no, it was me. It was, yeah.
That's what
it was
excites
me and
me.
a couple Indian guys and the guy from Sweden.
Yeah, that's what excites me. The guy wandering through South America
Yeah, no,
with an idea gets to Colgate. Now they're
Literally did it in South America.
I think you're saying I'll be ready to go out and test. And I mean, some of the stuff you guys said, I think some of it happened so fast for me, I didn't catch all of it. But I think within this group, which is kind of normal, but within this group, it's always been something Bob and Mike have said, don't do all this creation and then not know how to sell. And to go out and I remember the example that Micah gave was, well, if they buy it, just tell them it's not ready. And I think that everyone in this room kind of has that understanding of you need to know that you're going to have a product to sell. I mean, even me, which is something I'm finally now going to move on, but when we first started this group, I wanted to make this huge product with all these different components to it, which you guys might even know about, and then it shrunk down to just one thing. And if people like that one thing, I'll add on all the other components later. So I kind of would like to, I don't know if we're going to get your presentation.
Yeah.
I guess it's on video, so we'll see it, because I think you guys took it to somewhat of another level, which was a bit more technical for my brain to understand that I want to kind of be looking at.
So we're trying to walk that balance, because it sounded like I heard some people wanted more technical stuff, and then I'm kind of with Betsy that in these type of events, I like to just be exposed to what I don't know, and just make like a mental index of, oh yeah, this capability exists, and I know where to get the answer to that later, but at least I know it exists. And happy to we'll make the slides available, it's on video. Do we want to, look?
You don't have to give us your emails.
Yeah, I should say, we have contact info.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys feel free to call. I'm Sean at Grid7. He's Bryan at Grid7. Feel free to email me.
So, do you guys outsource any of that process, or are you guys doing that whole thing internally? Or for part of it, do you say we're going to send it to these guys because they do this part very well, and then wait for them to bring the data back to you?
Starting to. So I've done all the PPC thus far. I formed a relationship on the SEO and a relationship on the PPC. So going forward, like in the early days, I like to be involved with the results, because you can draw different conclusions from them. It's a different proposition to just be good at AdWords versus how do you interpret that data and draw conclusions, and how does that inform what you test next? And so I like to be involved in the very early stages, but once it's working and once it's refined, I'll go outsource that piece. Yeah. So Brian's passing around an order form right now.
Yeah, so we're going to do something kind of interesting here, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to pass this out, all right? It's an order form. And I want you guys to go ahead and take a look at it real quickly. Is this a test? No, it's not a test.
Well, Bob, we gotta honor Bob's thing. He says never get up there unless you've got something, or never ever be in front of a group unless you're gonna have something to sell. So we figure we better have something to sell.
So we're going to do this kind of a little bit non-traditional. We're gonna try out a theory, and it may fail, it may succeed, it may flop miserably, but it'll be at least an interesting experiment here. So what I'm gonna have you guys do, and you guys are just gonna have to trust me on this, okay? So, so I'm actually gonna have you guys, everybody, I'm gonna ask this of you, okay? And obviously everybody has their own prerogative not to follow through, but if you guys trust us, just follow through with this exercise, okay? I'm gonna have all of you guys fill out the order form. Your name, your credit card, sign it, everything, okay? Yeah, you guys can rip it up, you can do whatever, but I'm just asking you to go through the process of actually filling out, put your credit card information on there, okay? Name, signature, go through that, okay? Then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna write a number on the board, okay? And the way that this is gonna work is that number is the starting amount for the product that we're gonna be offering today, okay? The first person to raise their hand will get the product for the dollar amount that is on the board, okay? The next person, the price goes up by $10, okay? So every time someone buys, the price goes up by $10, okay? So obviously there's an incentive. If it's already filled out and you guys find the product interesting, you guys will be able to get it at a significantly discounted rate compared to someone else who might find it interesting later on, okay? So, does everybody feel comfortable doing this, or is this a no-go?
Do you have any idea what the product is?
One product.
It's up there.
Yeah, this is
Right
the
here.
book. So we've written a book that is the distillation of all of this experience in terms of the technical, the philosophical, the mindset shift, some of the same data we saw, and distilled it to the 20 lessons basically that are involved in doing this type of rapid product market fit validation and testing. And I'll tell you more, but is anyone interested in that?
Is it on Amazon? For copy,
What say it again?
do we get a discount for copy?
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, I mean, like spelling the word weird.
Yes, you can have a discount for that, right?
So we'll start at $1 lower. What was the starting price?
So, okay, who does not feel comfortable going through this exercise at all?
So this is a
Can you just repeat the instructions?
Okay, so here's what I was asking everybody, right? To actually fill out the piece of paper with your credit card information, everything like that, right? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a dollar amount on the board for the product, okay? Nobody knows what it's gonna be yet, right? So if your card is already filled out, you just raise it in the air and you will get it for the price on the board, the first person. Second person, the price goes up by $10, okay? So if you guys are at all interested, okay.
Was that the purchase?
All right, dude, I just got it. All right, 35, 45.
But you don't turn around and look.
Oh, I'm sorry, you first. I got to back up. 45?
That was up before.
Oh, I thought it was 35.
It was, but you were too late. Bob got it. Oh, you had it first?
I was first. I was definitely first.
All right, Bob, 35, 35, 45. You're 45 also, because you're at the same time. You're 55, 65.
Where's the 65?
75.
We probably, I'm losing.
You put me down to 45, I did very nice.
Oh. Okay.
No, it's Chris Austin.
All right.
Where were you at?
45.
45.
Yeah, I was 55.
And I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Rick.
Well, I put you both because I couldn't see you, so just to make it easy.
Okay. Do we have one at 65 too?
Yeah, 65 and 75. Okay. So, does anybody else interested, or we're good now? Okay. Does anybody wish they would have got in at the $35 price point? Raise your hand if you wish you would have gotten in at 35. Okay. Anybody who did not buy that wish they would have gotten in at a lower price point? What price point do you feel that you wish you would have gotten in at?
I wish I would have gotten into trading you. Oh, I'm serious. I got a free book from Matthew Publications for doing technical editing for a book that for books they publish online. You should do the same thing.
Okay.
Thank
So you wish you would have gotten in, right?
Yeah, I was up early, but then I got around the room.
So
And
what?
I backed out at 75.
Okay, you backed out at 75, but you'd have been fine at 65?
No, I was in at 35. I was with all these others
Oh,
at the same
we'll
time.
put you in at the same time, that's fine. We didn't see you, if it's just the fact that we
Well,
didn't
that's
see
what
you.
I'm saying.
Okay, Adam, he came up at the same time, so Adam.
And what was your name?
Dennis?
And it was Tim, right?
Yeah.
What do you wish you would have gotten in at? You wish you would have gotten in at 35? Okay. Alright. Okay, so here's the good news, right? Anybody who wished they would have bought something but they did not is going to get an opportunity to buy actually the next product that we have, okay? Everybody else who bought the book automatically gets the next product, lifetime. Grandfathered in for life. It's a monthly product, but you guys automatically get grandfathered in because you guys bought the last product, okay? So if anybody else is interested, fill out your credit card information now for the next product that might be coming up, okay? This is going to be a monthly price, though, the dollar amount of this, okay? Okay, so the book took all these skills, right, and walks you through it, right? But what we did is we developed an application that automatically does all of this for you, okay? So instead of having to go through and teach yourself how to do all these things step by step, we actually have a product that will automatically do this. It's going to integrate with Google AdWords, with your WordPress, and with Infusionsoft, okay? So we'll go through and we'll talk then about that. Are you guys interested in learning about this at all? Is anybody, or? Yeah? Okay. So anybody else, if you guys are interested in getting into this, fill out the information. So I'll go through it with you. Yep. So I'm going to demo the application here. Why is it? Oh wait, change the show. So, I think it's displaying weird because of the browser or something. That's all right. We'll just go through this. Okay, so what we did is we took all of these, the process that you have to go through, and we turned this into a web tool. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do here is you're going to start a new campaign, okay? Then you're going to enter the product name and the hypothesis that you'd like to validate. You're going to put in a goal for your gross income, how much money you actually want to make per month off of this product, okay? Then you're going to go ahead and put in the product pricing, so we just limit it to 3, so that can be a recurring price, what you want for these 3 tiers, and then your target audience, whether you want it to a local, national, or global, okay? Then automatically what's going to happen is, based on entering keywords, it's going to go ahead and do the keyword analysis for you. It's going to tell you what the search volume is, what the competition is, the max clicks, the cost per click, your click-through rate, and your potential income based off of the data that you had entered previously.
Yeah, assuming whatever conversion rate you
Assuming that you put in, this is off the screen, but this is based off of like a 3% conversion rate in order to go ahead and make a valid idea. So why don't you go ahead and put a number on the board for a monthly price and see if anyone's interested as we go through. So I'm going to go through some of the features. I won't go through all of them, just to kind of show you guys how this works. In here, actually, we're going to recommend so you signed up, okay?
Sarah.
All right, Sarah. So she's in, $69 a month. All right. It'll automatically suggest a domain name, and you can buy it within the product automatically. All the hosting is included, so the site will actually be hosted on our servers, okay? From there, you're going to have that keyword data that you collected earlier automatically populate. You're in, okay? Automatically populate. And what's going to be really powerful about this is it's going to synchronize with your AdWords campaign. Okay? So what's powerful about this is you're in. Now, what was one of the main concerns you had before about working with AdWords, and what were we going to talk about before?
Rank quality.
Right, quality scores, right?
Then it would cost hundreds or thousands of dollars to do a test.
Mm-hmm. So what's powerful about this is that obviously it doesn't cost thousands and thousands of dollars to run a test. Apparently right now it costs $99 a month, right? That's how much it costs. Okay? Now, that quality score is automatically going to be higher because we're tying in all the keywords automatically to the landing page that we build for you dynamically. So for every keyword that you want to go ahead and run and test, we're automatically going to develop a landing page dynamically. All of that content gets fed in. So the headline, the subject, the title, the URL string, everything is automatically tied in this dynamically, so that quality score is automatically going to be higher, right? All that content is matching.
If you're building a dedicated site for me, I won't be like.
Nope, it's all hosted. This all happens. Yeah, it's
under your
domain. It's under your domain. You own the domain.
Okay.
We're just hosting it, right? All this is just integrated, right? So,
and let's also, before he shows you more features, let's think about what are the implications in terms of ideas that you might test if it were truly this simple to test it. How many, are you signing up or asking a question?
No, I've already signed up.
Okay.
Every napkin idea to be tested that quick.
Good.
I've had tons, and I've listened to tons.
So what if literally you have an idea, you jump on here, we tell you what keywords are the best match, we tell you if you're going to hit your goals for that month based on this product, then we build you the website, right?
Order the domain name.
The domain name, everything, all that process is automated all the way through, right? And in seconds, you're able to do good.
What about the content piece? Where's the content coming from?
So there is pre-existing content that you can go ahead and edit, but some of the content is based off the actual keywords that we did on the keyword analysis.
And we're going to build in the option to basically forward it to an outsourcer. So it's not done. Like the only way to truly make good content is like that Natasha girl on Fiverr, right? You got to get a human that knows what's going on, but we're going to make that seamless. Make that just a one-click thing.
This like speed links?
I'm not familiar with speed links. What is that? Something similar. Okay, so it's at $99. Anyone else interested at this price before we show anything?
Okay. So, all right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you guys letting us demonstrate the product, and do you want to go ahead and transition that?
Yeah, okay, so to wrap this all up and to do the meta of what we just did, there's no product, if anyone figured it out.
So we don't have a book, we don't have any software, none of this existed.
Right? But this exercise, right? But what did we do? What was so key here?
You figured out what the price is.
Validated demand, validated price, right?
All of this is feasible, all of this can be built. It's not a question of can it be built. It's a question is, does someone want this to be built? Right. And how much are they willing to pay?
Okay.
Right?
Well, and also, let's let you guys in on, we did this last night.
Literally at 8 o'clock at night, when we got done with dinner, we said, crap, we should do a super meta.
Not just tell you guys the techniques, but actually bring you through the experience and meta, have you guys experience what we're talking about. And so I hope you won't mind that we misled you in this exercise, but this is what we're talking about. And we wanted you guys, we want to do something powerful, and I hope that this was something you guys found.
So literally this was all built, designed. We didn't have to make a web page. These are all screenshots from Adobe Illustrator that are moved into this product called an InVision app that allows you to create hotspots for PDFs or static images and make it feel as if you have a functioning product, right? We could have gone into crazy detail and made this site look completely authentic, but we didn't have to. He's complaining about the copy. Did it matter?
No.
It didn't matter. None of it mattered. Now, can we optimize? Can we perfect it? Of course. But did we need to? Right? Now, we didn't have $1 million payday like Bob. This wasn't the perfect storm, but this, I think, is a pretty powerful illustration.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, what can two guys do just in the middle of the night, go to bed at a decent hour, get up, finish all this stuff, kind of, last minute, and make sure that we could walk up here and pitch something that we might fail. What, you know how terrifying it was? What if we handed all this out and no one bought anything? What a bunch of a-holes we would have looked like, right?
I've done that.
Right?
That's my mom.
I lived through that.
Right? But you live through it and it's okay, and you have to move through that fear. The only way that you know whether you have something is whether someone physically gives you their credit card, which is what you guys were willing to do because it resonated with some of you.
right? So we
Imagine you
created
guys
a product.
throwing cash at us,
Right.
we would go and program this tomorrow.
So, does anybody have any, I hope no one's pissed. Like, we wanted this to be a positive, you know,
I got a dozen ideas a day I can run through. And I'd pay a lot more than $99 a month if you actually had that built. I'm guaranteed.
Cool. All right, well, guys, thank you for listening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Appreciate it.
Clearly, these guys are pretty sharp. Thank you very much for presenting your ideas. I took a bunch of notes and back there, like, I hope you guys got a lot out of that. Really powerful stuff. I love, you can see why I immediately fell in love with this guy. His head is like, just in the right place. Like, let's not spend all this money, we're not gonna raise venture capital, we ain't gonna do any of that. We're gonna find out exactly what's gonna work, and then build that, or not. Right?
Yeah.
I hope you build that.
A failure, yeah, because a failed result is a good result.
It's a great way.
You avoided going down a rabbit hole. It's going to take you nowhere.
And the speed at which you can just test these things, awesome stuff. Really. Why don't we take about a 10-minute break? After the break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thanks, guys.